direct contract with the district or a subcontractor who has that contract with our prime vendor. Due to the nature of what we spend money on, we have large scale building projects. Unfortunately, there aren't too many medium, small sized businesses that have the capacity to work on the scopes of projects we provide, especially when we have our tight construction windows in the summer. It's difficult for a small business to ramp up the workforce to be able to complete those projects. So the majority of our spend is with our prime vendors, and the MWB spends on the subcontracting level, at least on the direct construction side. When it comes to professional services sides, you will see an amazing flip on that. These are our contracts with our architecture and engineering firms. The majority of that women and minority-owned spend is on the prime level, where we have that contract directly with the women or minority-owned business. So we're very proud of that. And as this goes back to that opportunities scope of construction, this is our construction spend, majority of the opportunities on the subcontracting level. Right. This is our 2020 bond, which goes until up to the end of June. And honestly, the majority of construction spend for 2022, it actually happens in July and August. So unfortunately, this chart does not capture that. The next presentation I have will be a better reflection of where we are. But as of the end of June, direct construction spend is right around $70 million, and 22.6 million of that went to our local women and minority-owned businesses, which brought us to 32.4%. There's further breakdown of our architecture engineering spend, direct construction spend again, our QLE spend, and our environmental spend. And the reason the QLE spend you see higher here, we were able to verify that. That's why they were able to confidently report that spend number. Once again, a breakdown of our ethnicity. Once again, as you can see, our Black-owned spend is very, very low, and I'll show you in a second here how we're trying to improve that. Our gender spend here, ethnicity by males, ethnicity by females, prime versus sub. Once again, our professional services, architecture engineering, majority of that spend for women minority business on the prime level. Construction here, sub and prime. And our efforts to increase those lower trends. We did analysis. We're always trying to improve what we can do. And we just initiated a mentor program. We wanted to start first with our low-hanging fruit opportunities. Companies that have been successful with us in the past, but due to capacity reasons or whatever reason, aren't successful in getting more work. So we singled out two of our local small businesses, medium-sized businesses, Gilmore Construction and Sky Blue Construction. Both are Black-owned businesses, and they're going to be formally in our mentor program, where we show them the exact standards we're looking for. We introduce them to all the right decision makers, and we show them how they can be more successful with the district. We can't guarantee them work, but we can get them to be at a point where they're more competitive when new opportunities do come by. Along with that, for our two big projects going forward, we have had very serious talks with both Swinnerton, our GC on our Ceylon campus, as well as A&P, our GC on our Montbello campus. And unfortunately, we can't tell them who they have to use, but we can encourage them to do more outreach activities. And they have both committed to do targeted outreach to the Black business community, as well as the MWB community as a whole. And they're going to give us a report of what their efforts are, so we can ensure that is actually happening. Along with that, DPS is actually going to hold an open house over the end of the year, where we invite all our women and minority-owned businesses, where we're going to do targeted focus on our Black-owned businesses to ensure they attend this event, make sure we make these introductions so we could make sure they have the full access to all the opportunities that are available as part of our DPS construction projects. We've always been a partner of the Black Construction Group, but we've actually entered a formal partnership with the Black Construction Group just this past month to help us get our messaging across. And they're going to target our messaging to their membership to make sure they're at our events, to make sure they know about the opportunities and come to us directly if they ever have any questions on what we could do to help them become more successful when it comes to working with us. Also, there's a new organization in town called the African American Trade Association. We recently partnered with them as well as we provided them 2 DPS interns this summer to help grow their businesses and let the students know there's a business owners who look just like you that could possibly work for DPS. So we're very, very proud of that. So there's more things we can do. If anyone in this room has more suggestions or ideas, please let me know. I'd love to hear them, because we think we're doing a good job, but we know there's always opportunity for growth. We can improve what we're doing. All All right, in terms of our small business, this is a program that was the Board of Education asked us to start because they saw that the majority of the businesses working with us were the same companies over and over again. So how do we get new businesses in that pipeline to start working with us? So we started a small business set-aside program where only small businesses have to compete with each other to make them more successful, to gain experience so they can graduate to larger projects. The target for this program is $3 to $5 million a year. And at the end of June, we're roughly at $2 million worth of spend. Once again, we're the only school district in the state of Colorado that have that program. Our disparity study, we spoke in February, but our original timeline was to conduct a disparity study at the end of summer, at least to initiate that. And those of you who are unfamiliar with disparity studies, we cannot assign an MWB goal to our procurement contracts without a disparity study being conducted to let us know what our benchmarks should be. Our original plan was to conduct the RFP for the study at the end of the summer. The process takes anywhere between 12 to 18 months, but we recently attended last month the American Contract Compliance Association's conference, which advised us not to do a disparity study until next summer. And the reason for that, there's a case that's about to be argued in front of the Supreme Court. The Students for Fair Admissions, Inc. versus University of North Carolina is an affirmative action case, but that will actually dictate a lot of the case law that will put boundaries on what MWB programs could be going forward. That decision should come out at the end of June. So based on that decision is when we're going to initiate an RFP for a new disparity study. That way, the new disparity study incorporates all the regulations and the case law that pertains to MWB programs. And the reason we have to do that, if we don't do that, it opens us up to risk and liability by being sued for having unfair practices. So we just want to make sure we're in proper guidance. So once that case comes out, the decision comes out, we're going to set a timeline to conduct a new disparity study. And the best thing about the new disparity study is it's going to incorporate our normal goods and services spend, which previously has not been counted. Right now, our goal is just for direct construction bond spend, but the new disparity study we want will incorporate everything DPS spends money on. So we're happy about that. Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
I have questions on something else.
Oh.
I have questions.
Yes, please.
First, I have a
Yeah,
statement.
Director Quattlebaum, go right ahead.
The statement that I'd like to make is I was really happy to hear you say that the construction company that we contracted with for the Montbello campus remodel, that it was highly encouraged that African American or Black employees were hired. And I can report back that driving past that high school multiple times during the day, we thought we were seeing things that it wasn't true, that there were so many Black employees, construction workers. But it's nice to know that that was very intentional, because sometimes when you want specific outcomes, you have to be intentional in your approach and unapologetic in that. So I thank you for that, and I am seeing it in the community. And I'm just gonna stop there, because I think that that speaks for itself, and I'll turn it over to Vice President Anderson.
Thank you for that feedback. I'll be sure to let that vendor know. They're gonna be happy to hear that, and they'll probably encourage them to do more.
Vice President Anderson.
Yes, thank you. So first I want to ground my comments in saying thank you for the presentation, and I appreciate you and your team. My following comments may feel a little bit critical, but they're just in the interest of the Black community. I'm very disappointed. Out of $167 million, only 4.4% of that was Black. I get that we're doing the work to increase the Black representation, but I will speak for my community and say we are more than 4% of 170 million, rounding up $1 million. I'm disappointed that the numbers continue to they're lower in percentages, even though it's a smaller chunk of money for 22.7 million from January to June of this year. And I am hopeful that whatever work you all do to help increase the Black representation amongst our construction workers is, would love to see regular updates about this, because we should be doing much better than this. I am grateful for our brothers and sisters and folks in the Latinx community, that they have such a high representation and other groups that are as well, and to see that the majority is minority at least in this pie chart. I just believe we can do better than 4.4% for Black folks. And I would also look to see who's out of state that we can start finding. Who can we bring in to help us if needed? What could we be doing to partners from out of state groups with the local groups to increase? And then also trying to figure out how we can work with trade unions to ensure that our students know how they can go into the construction field through our union and apprenticeship programs that we could be offering in the Denver Public Schools with collaboration with the other folks in our labor union organization. So I'm hopeful that things will get better. I'm just really, this 4.4% number is glaring to me. And I'm grateful to see that there's a plan, but I will definitely, with my 14 months, hopefully 5 more years, will be holding your feet accountable or to the fire, holding you accountable. And I want to, that next thing you know, that's a Denver Post article, holding you accountable as superintendent along with my colleagues to make sure that we are increasing this number over the next 5 years.
Director Anderson, I emulate your concerns 100%. Exactly what you're showing. We're just saying exactly what we are trying to improve. And just for a point of reference, just so you know, our disparity study does not allow us to put goals based on ethnicity. We can only do a group goal. And when we were at that conference in North Carolina, they shared with us what the issue we're having, almost everybody's having, unfortunately. And they shared with us there's not a single Black-owned national construction company. I was shocked to hear that, but based on research, there's not one. And unfortunately, we can only take credit for businesses that are located within the Denver metro area. They don't have to be headquartered, but they have to at least have presence in the Denver metro area. But we will do everything we can. And I will work with Dr. Charles to make sure you guys get all the updates you want in terms of progress.
Director Olson?
I just go around and, sure. I echo the concerns of Director Anderson, but I also know you have a plan and you have been increasing through the years with that. I remember when I first came on the board, you were one of the first presentations I got, and you've increased that from the time I got on the board until now. So I too will be continuing to look for your progress, and I just really appreciate all your passion for this and being forward thinking of having coffees, to have people talk with you in an informal setting. And I know you mentioned inviting the board. I'd love to come. Sorry I couldn't go yesterday. I was working out of town. But thank you for your passion, and we'll keep our eyes on this as well. Thank you.
One thing I forgot to mention, one of the reasons our numbers are down in the 2020 bond, it's a good and sad reason at the same time. One of our Black-owned businesses was so successful, they got bought out. So we used them quite a bit in the 2016 bond. Unfortunately, we can't use them in the 2020 bond due to the fact they lost their certification.
Well, since I see a rainbow, I'm going to say that that's DPS's promise to now make sure that we are finding more Black people in construction work and in construction fields to help our district. That's why I'm going to hold y'all accountable.
That's a sign.
That's a sign of hope.
Director Balderman?
So the common theme I'm hearing in all the comments around monitoring, and under EL Executive Implementation 16.10, it simply says comply with district-wide goals and objectives for WMBE contracting resulting from periodic disparity studies. And this originated from a resolution. It was 2014.
12, I think, started.
12,
took
yeah.
a while to.
And that resolution doesn't really get into the detail. It just has a 24% is the goal. That's all it says. It's very general. But as we go through our policy reviews on our daytime work sessions, like once we get to EL 16, I think this is an area that we could look into of how do we make this less general and have more disaggregated data to more focus on these areas, and really in line with what you're already doing, which makes it easy, but just kind of incorporate that. So then getting it in here will then trigger the monitoring I think we're looking for. Thanks for the presentation.
And Director Lindsay?
I was just noticing that
Denver, and I'm making up numbers here, are black owned, and we're only getting 4.4%. It allows us to look at maybe where we're missing. I'm gonna continue to ask for, I think this chart is really compelling and really important. As we look at and I know we're not responsible for it, but when we group together minority and women-owned businesses, it skews numbers in a variety of different ways, and that's one of those structures that I don't know if we have an ability to look at that differently, but I'm curious about it. Was that supposed to be a question? Can you go to slide 26 for me? So I'd be curious in terms of tracking, and I recognize we may not have those numbers, what that number looks like in August. I'd love to be updated on that, at least via email, because we know the significant amount of our bond and construction budgets are spent over the summer, right? So yeah, I think you said the goal here was 35 million?
No, 3 to 5 million.
3 to 5 million.
This is
Okay.
just a small business program. The majority of the spend is on our facility side, not the construction side.
3 to 5 is very different from 35.
Yeah.
I recognize that. I'm not great at math, but I've got that one down. But I'd still like to see that update, right? Because if I had to venture a guess, and Troy, you can probably back me up on this or not, depending on what you want to do, and how out there you want to be. I'm guessing if we were at 2 through June of 2022, I'm guessing we're at least at 4 coming into the summer. Maybe. We'll take it or leave it. But I'd love to have that update when we get those updated numbers, and happy to get that in email. However,
Would December be okay? That's a better reflection, because we allow our vendors to have that 30-day lag so we confirm the numbers. And we also went through an ERP conversion transition. So that's kind of was a slowdown in reporting. That's the reason you don't have end of summer numbers right now.
well, and I know, so I'm gonna tie a piece together here, which is when our business office, for lack of a better term, I'm sure there's a better term for it, delays some of those payouts, it undermines our ability to get some of those smaller businesses, because they need that money on a regular basis. And so I think there's a need for us to evaluate our systems and make sure that we've got them working in such a way that we're able to build those small businesses up in ways. And then one last question. Sorry about that. What sort of incentives can you offer for companies to get involved? I know we can't target them, but we could certainly consider incentives. Are there incentives under consideration?
Other than giving them money for work, there's not much more we can do other than that. But to your question regarding the payouts to small businesses, all of our businesses were informed that we were going through that transition. There might be a delay, and any small business that's reached out, we have actively escalated that to ensure there's visibility on it and the appropriate person is aware to ensure that they'll be paid in a timely manner. Unfortunately, with the transition, some things have slipped the cracks, but we've told them to reach out to us.
Great. So that's last question. Last comment is, I was incredibly impressed yesterday. I thought that was just an absolutely fantastic event. Saw a lot of great networking going on. Saw a lot of great interaction between both significant elements of the DPS construction business community and also that larger vendor community. And I was just, I want to call out publicly that I appreciate.
Lady's not on the call right now. Her name is Jennifer Malpiedi. Single-handedly put that event on her own. So got to give her credit where credit's due.
Good, good. Thank job, Jennifer.
And she's a DPS grad as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I want to echo Director Esserman's sentiments about that trade fair yesterday. I saw a lot of women. I wasn't expecting to see the number of women in that room, and so I was very impressed with that. So help these women get the support that they need. In terms of something that Director Esterman asked, got me thinking about what can we do to support the small business enterprise program, the small business administration. Are they offering incentives that maybe we as an organization can help these women, specifically because I'm thinking about the women, help them learn more about what's out there for them in terms of supports, so that they are prepared and ready to come and partner with DPS. What can we do to sort of partner with the city to share the information that they have?
Usually most businesses that want to work with us also want to work with the city, so they're familiar with that circle, and we have great ties with the city's program as well. So we help each other out, really on the business. And over 90% of this women and minority-owned businesses that we utilize are city certified businesses. So that's where we get the bulk of our vendors that want to work with us. So they're both very familiar with both our programs. But the SBA's program, they really don't have an incentive, but they have programs to remove barriers to entry, like extra capital funding, how to access to capital, surety bonding. So we do, during our how to do business workshops, as well as our bonding workshops, the SBA comes actually presents. So they teach all those businesses what are the resources out there to help them work with us.
So, Morgan, I have to say that the two of the several vendors I talked to were Latinas, and they were not aware.
They weren't, okay.
No, when I was asking questions to see if they were getting any supports, they were not aware. So
You're happy
it would
to,
be nice maybe at the next trades fair to have DPS staff walk around and ask questions and find out if, what's missing. We need to be asking the right questions. So with that, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Can I have one
Yeah,
question?
that's superintendent.
Thank
Go
you,
right
thank you. All great questions. I have similar concerns, especially with that chart that has that big chunk of the gray section. Because I remember you were in the session with me and there was wonderings around the female population. In which, is it genuinely female owned, which was to be celebrated, not that one, the next one? Or is it one of those national firms that now shadow and put a female, right? So there was a little bit of wondering there. And
we can confirm all of these female-owned businesses are certified, and there's a pretty rigorous certification program they have to go through that verifies the finances of the business, especially if they're city certified, which the majority of our businesses are. If they lie on that certification, it's against the law. So, so those are all vetted, and I'm sure there's always going to be, unfortunately, some bad players in the market, but every one of our vendors has a third-party certification, either from the City of Denver, the National Minority Supplier Development Council, or the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and all three of those programs are very thorough certification programs.
last question, how many districts engage in minority women business-owned initiatives, and how do we fare in comparison?
In terms of Colorado, we're the only ones. We're the only school district in the state of Colorado that has a dedicated women and minority-owned and small business enterprise program. And we're not 100% sure how many throughout the country, but most of the programs are members of the American Contract Compliance Association. The last count, there was less than 20 throughout the whole country.
Very important. I want to end on that note because it's great for transparency. Some have no clue, and perhaps I would even argue care not to know.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you so much, Morgan.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you. Thank your team.
And the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. So now we are ready for Ms. Lori to join us so that we can consider our consent agenda. So Ms. Atwood, when you're ready, she will read the other items on the consent agenda. My colleagues can hold any item on which they would like further discussion. Ms. Atwood, would you please review the items on our consent agenda?
4.01, approval of the minutes from the August 25th, 2022 regular board meeting. 4.02, approval of the minutes from the August 25th, 2022 executive session. 4.03, approval of the minutes from the September 1st, 2022 work session and special board meeting. 5.01, mechanical project for Cheltenham, pre-approval of construction services for Cheltenham. 5.02, pre-approval of construction services for Follis Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing, and Theatrical Lighting Systems. 5.03, pre-approval for Thomas Jefferson, MEP. 5.04, pre-approval of construction services for steel. 5.05, pre-approval of construction services for Place Bridge Academy. 5.06, pre-approval of construction services for Kennedy. 5.07, pre-approval of construction services for Cowell. 5.08, indoor air quality sensors and monitoring. 5.09, third-party transportation, Everdriven, formerly American Logistics Corp., ALC. 8.01, approval of the personnel transaction report.
Hold,
Are we holding 901?
yeah, I'm gonna hold that one as well.
Okay, and then we're gonna hold 901.
Do we need to have other board members motion or
Yeah. if
just
it-
one can hold?
We've never had a vote to hold, it's just been a hold. Yeah, we've never held a vote to hold.
Yeah, I think what we usually do is, when that happens, we go ahead and vote on the consent agenda. So you vote on what has been read, then you go into discussion for the one that's on hold, and then we have to go back and vote on that one item.
All right, but my question is, can one individual ask to hold, or do we need more than one individual to support that?
I would just.
We've never
I
had,
asked a question, I have an answer.
so because I've been on the board longer than you, I'm trying to tell you what's happened in the
I'd
past.
like the legal counsel to
So
share their.
as somebody who's had more seniority than you on this board, when somebody requests to hold an agenda item, we hold the agenda item, we do the vote on the consent agenda, and then we go into the next one. I know you haven't been on the board that long, but I'm just trying to tell you how the practice is at this board.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. I am waiting for legal to answer my question. Thank you for your patience.
This is a waste of time. Then it's Tecta that I want to hold in. Yeah, not personnel, sorry. Tecta.
The tech is not up for vote.
Yeah, the tech is not up,
Okay.
it's just.
I just want to make sure that I saw it before I voted on it, but I do want to hold 9.01. Should we go into a recess?
No, we can
Since
be patient, we can be patient and wait.
Well, I think this could be a bio break time since we've been sitting here.
Anyone is, feel
Any member.
feel free to stand up if you need to go to the restroom.
Any member can call for recess and then determine by.
Would you like a recess, board? This question to my colleagues. Okay, we will wait.
I move for a 10-minute recess.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. You need a call vote.
Would you like to call for a vote? We'll start here.
It's been moved and seconded. You have to call for the vote now.
I'm calling for the vote right now.
So Ms. Atwood would have to call vote.
Ms. Atwood, would you please call roll?
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Balderman.
Aye.
Director Esserman,
Aye.
Director Gaitan,
No.
Director Lindsay,
Aye.
Dr. Olson,
Aye.
Director Quattlebaum.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll take a short break. Thank you. where we left off, I asked a question and our council has an answer for us, so if you can please share your answer. We have returned to the meeting.
So when there is an item that one board member requests further consideration of an item on a consent agenda, the single member is empowered to hold that item back for further consideration. The board would then vote on the remaining items in the consent agenda, move to discussion on the item that's held over in the regular course of business.
As I stated.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the time that you took to do that for us. So back to Ms. Lori, if you can continue on with the list.
Well, that was the list, now we're just up for.
Okay, did you name the last two items? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so the last item that was named prior to the hold of 901 was 801, approval of the personnel transaction report.
Okay, got it.
And then we're holding 901. And that's it. So now we're ready for the
Okay.
vote.
Can I have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Atwood, would you please call roll?
Director Anderson,
Discussion.
That's right, let's open up for discussion.
Yeah, I will be voting no on the consent agenda today, because I have not had the proper time to review all of the documents on it. I would hope that this is a moment for us to get the documents in a pre-read at least a week or 14 days prior to it being posted on board docs. I have not had the opportunity to review everything in depth, and I do not believe I can make an informed decision when just passing the consent agenda tonight. So I will be voting no.
Any further discussion? Okay,
Actually, real quick question,
Oh,
would it be
Director Baldwin?
beneficial to put it somewhere in an executive limitation of what kind of advance warning, just so we're all on the same page, because I don't wanna, just so we just not catch you off guard on what expectations are about putting in the consent agenda. Do you know where that might go, Dr. Charles, if that's something we would put in an EL?
It would go in an EL, but I would have to take some time to.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to push you on the spot,
Yeah.
so maybe that's, we do that in our work sessions, figure out if something that's reasonable.
that sounds like a reasonable request, if we can add that to one of our policy governance work sessions.
If I could, oh,
No, in that session, obviously, the expected amount of time beforehand.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Find that.
Director Olson?
one of the things I've found helpful in previous boards is to go over each item, like the Monday before, to say you will be voting on these and having these items available at the same time. I too was pressed for time this week, but I was able to look at these items on the consent agenda, and I feel comfortable voting on them, but I appreciate Dr. President Anderson, it's been a long day, comment about us needing more time, so maybe that would be a way that if we could get it a couple meetings ahead of time where it's read to us, so we know what's coming, so if we have questions, we could investigate.
Yeah, my vote is not against any of these, or it's not that I don't believe in what's being presented, I just haven't had the adequate time, and I got the facilitation guide yesterday. And so I would ask just, for me personally, just at least either have that review beforehand, or at least get an email with saying, here are the things that are for consideration on the consent agenda. Just wanna make sure that you have them for your review, just so that we can have prior notice of the agenda to make these informed decisions, because I just wanna read in depth about what we're voting on, but I had only the opportunity to really skim through it this morning, and I just don't feel confident making that decision.
Any further discussion? Okay, with that, Ms. Ellen? Oh,
I just,
Director
I
Lindsay?
had very little time to look at this. I would like to have got it quite a bit earlier, if that was possible, and then I agree with what Director Baldwin says about putting something like that into the executive invitation.
okay. And with that, Ms. Atwood, would you please call roll?
Director Anderson,
No.
Director Balderman,
Aye.
Director Esserman,
Aye.
Director Gaitan,
Aye.
Director Lindsay,
Aye.
Dr. Olson,
Aye.
and Director Quattlebaum.
Aye.
With that, the motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Lauren.
We're gonna have to take a vote on 901.
That's right, so now we go back to. Okay, can you, point me to, oh, I found it, Lori. Okay, so, consent agenda under portfolio management, 901-5280 Freedom School Resolution number 5074. I'm clicking on it, give me just a few moments. Do we need to read that whole resolution out loud? Are we required to read through the whole thing?
So this is the holdover matter. So you don't have to read the entire resolution. We can waive a reading of the resolution, or we can put it into the record with a reading. That's up to the board. We can waive a reading on the motion of a member, or you can ask if there's any objection to waiving a reading.
Is there an objection to waiving a reading? It's lengthy. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and waive that and move that to a vote. Who would like to make a motion for a vote?
So moved, or,
Can I get a second? Now we open it up for discussion. Vice President Anderson?
Thank you. I held this item just because I felt that there were some discrepancies in numbers, and it was my belief that there were 100% across the board for criteria to be opened, and it seems that I may have misunderstood. So I wanted to get more clarity from our teams around the 80% versus 100% numbers, because I thought it was 100% period on all criteria.
I can respond and make sure that I'm correcting in the back. So conditions vary, right? So although we did receive prior notice in a privileged conversation, the 100% is attributed to enrollment. 80% is the threshold for the budget.
That was it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Ms. Lori, would you please call roll?
Director Anderson,
Aye.
Director Balderman,
aye.
Director Esterman,
Aye.
Director Gaitan,
Aye.
Director Lindsay,
Aye.
Dr. Olson,
Aye.
Director Pottlebaum.
Aye.
And with that, the motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Lori. Okay, the next item on the agenda, we are going to have our staff pass around some envelopes. The next item is new business. The presentation of a teacher dismissal recommendation from the superintendent. To protect the confidentiality of the employee, the superintendent will share a little bit about the process. We will not discuss the contents or any facts about this recommendation. So I'll pass this off to Dr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam President. And the manila envelope you just received is my recommendation for teacher dismissal pursuant to Colorado Teacher Employment Compensation and Dismissal Act, TECTA. The basis for these recommendations are described in the documents contained in the folders you received. They are confidential and should not be shared publicly. These are not voted on today. Once the teacher is afforded the full procedural rights under TECTA, this will return to you all for final recommendation.
Thank you.
I've already started asking these questions.
Where?
So you're talking.
Right, but I mean, staff, do you know if Director Baldwin has additional information? I just texted her to let her know that he can't email me. They will, get you returned. Okay, so she's aware, yes, okay. Thank you so much. Okay.
This is not tabulatory.
Before we, that was the last and final item on the agenda. Before we move to adjourn, does anyone want an opportunity to share any other community announcements? I want to share with the community that we have the work session tomorrow. So if anybody would like to, in the community, watch that, we do go live on those, and I believe that's tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Dr. Charles?
Yes, that's correct.
Tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I'll see all of you on the Zoom. We'll be doing that virtually. And we'll cover several policy governance items, and have some good discussion around policy governance. Vice President Anderson, I saw your hand go.
Yeah, just wanted to say that this upcoming week, we have board members, Superintendent Rivera, and representation from his office. We're headed to Miami, Florida to represent Denver Public Schools at CUBE, the Council of Urban Boards of Education. So hopeful that we'll come back with a lot of training and knowledge to share with you all. We've learned a lot of great things at NSBA conferences before, and we met some great professionals in San Diego when we went, but some safe travels, and we'll bring back some much needed knowledge to the Denver Public Schools as we represent you all in Florida. And I believe there's only 2 districts, to my knowledge, that are going, us and Aurora. So
Colorado.
from Colorado. No, not like, it wasn't a Denver Aurora get together in Miami. That's next year, I'm kidding. But no, we will, I believe there's only 2 districts that are going in the state, and I'm grateful DPS is one of those 2 districts, so I'm excited to be there next week.
Have any of you been to it last year or?
COVID.
No, it hasn't taken place in person.
Okay.
Yeah, before.
So, I can't wait to see all your new Rochelle photos.
Director Esserman?
Because it is our last official board meeting before next week, Sunday night begins the Jewish celebration of Rosh Hashanah, also translated literally into head of the year, or the Jewish New Year. For those of you who may be confused about that, there is a separate Jewish calendar that's based on the lunar calendar. And so the new year occurs, all Jewish holidays begin at sundown and end at sundown. So it'll begin at sundown on Monday night and continue in celebration through Tuesday. The traditional greeting is Shana Tova, which in Hebrew translates into Happy New Year, or Good New Year, Happy, good is fine. It is an ongoing effort to ensure that we are all attentive to scheduling around holidays that we are unaccustomed to. I have a close friend whose son started kindergarten this year, and the school scheduled a field trip to the zoo on Monday. And my friends were told there was nothing that could be done about it. It doesn't make me happy. And it is both predictable and concerning that just as we look at how much more marginalized and oppressed groups than the Jewish people are, have ongoing struggles to make sure that things are recognized, that this is certainly symbolic of that. And that it is a reminder to me as I celebrate this time with my family, that these should be the simple and easy things. This isn't hard. And I hope that this time next year, which won't actually be exactly this time, the calendar doesn't line up, but this time, this season next year, that the conversation we're having and that I'm sharing sounds and looks at least a little bit different. But should you see a Jewish friend, you don't need to know the Hebrew. You can wish them Happy New Year. If you don't remember or don't know, you can say, hey, I think it's a Jewish holiday. Which one? Ask those questions. As Ayante shared with us, you can do with names the same thing you can do with the Jewish holidays. So wishing all of you a healthy and happy New Year. If you want to participate in the celebration at home, one of the traditional foods, very simple to prepare, is apples and honey, which represent a sweet, the honey, and healthy, the apples, New Year. Little apple dipped in honey, and you're good to go and on your way.
Great, thank you for sharing those sentiments and for sharing a little bit about the Jewish community and how that's celebrated. That's very heartwarming to me to know that that's happening starting next week. So thank you very much. With that, and thank you for those. Oh, do you want to share too?
One thing I'd like to share is it's Director Lindsay's birthday tomorrow. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish her a happy birthday and thank you for stepping in to serve.
Are we gonna tune up the DPS choir? I think we should. Happy birthday to you tomorrow. Happy birthday to you tomorrow. Happy birthday, Director Lindsay. Tomorrow. Happy birthday to you. You can check out our music on SoundCloud.
I'm not even gonna say thank you.
Was that
With that, we're gonna close out. We've completed all business before the Board of Education tonight. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Atwood, would you please call roll? Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Balderman?
Aye.
Director Esterman?
Aye.
Director Gaitan? Aye. Director Lindsay?
All right.
Dr. Olson?
Aye.
Director Plava?
Aye.
Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned and the board will move to a work session tomorrow. Thank you.
Awesome.
What was there, no executive session? Oh, yes.